Good evening. We are picking up more or less where we left off last time. And I'm not even going to try to pretend that I didn't look up the solution to the thing that stymied me last time. Yeah, basically I did it right. It's just I tried to come through the bottom instead of jumping up like that. Like, literally I just had to not shine spark it and I would have been fine. Oh well. What's important is that security level 2 has been unlocked and green hatches are now active. That does mean that the X can get in. But it's not like that's my problem. I mean, it kind of is. But not enough for me to, like, meaningfully take responsibility for it. I will say, I think I mentioned last time that I thought it was kind of weird that there were, like, no X. Can't say that anymore. Weird that there were no unaffected creatures around. I presume that, like, under normal operating circumstances, they don't let the creatures roam. I kind of wish that charging a beam would, draw in floating X. Good old heat lamp room. Not gonna lie, I could really go for a heat lamp. Like, for me. Like, I'm not a lizard, I'm a fox, but I could very much go for some basking. There shall be no wall jumping there, it seems. You wouldn't download an upgrade. Super missile data downloaded. Hold R and press V. Oh, yeah. It appears that something violent is going on. I should preserve my progress. And hopefully refill my energy the next room over. Oh, wonderful. always taken a bit off guard. Ow, my bones. Despite being taken off guard, I lived. I was gonna say, I'm always taken a bit off guard by, how fragile I am in this game. At least early on, before I got, like, armor upgrades. Though it might be more accurate to say before I have armor. I feel like I've always had a lot of trouble with this boss compared to, like, other bosses. There's just something about it. I do think that the organic computer thing that's got going on, that was pretty cool. Oh, there's no doubt in my mind that there's, like, some way to skillfully evade its damage. I just don't have that skill. And it's dead. Or close enough to it. Imagine if that squished me. Thank you for the head taps. I like how that was like a story locked door, implying that, like, hadn't locked me in there until I killed that thing. Like, you're not authorized to retreat. Luckily, I did in fact have enough energy to sort of face tank my way through that. Those are screw attack blocks if memory serves. Screw attack being one of the very last upgrades you get, but also one of the very strongest. Which, given that it's endgame, is appropriate, I think. When in doubt, shine spark. Missile capacity up is really useful given that I just got a missile upgrade. Also, yeah, whether or not a screw attack is OP or underwhelming, I think is basically just, is it a 2D game or a 3D game? Because like in the 2D games, I feel like it's a lot stronger. Metroid 2 Remastered, a game where it does suck because it doesn't instant kill. Oh. Hey, energy tank. Awesome. Yeah, like, at least in this game, once you get the cadence for it down, you're basically invincible against anything that isn't a boss. Which is fun. Now, I don't have the Varia suit, so I can't go deeper. So presumably, Adam will tell me what to do next. The benefits of playing a linear game is I don't have to think very hard. Not that I'm thinking at first, but like... I see that you encountered a rogue security robot. You may destroy it if you need it again. Your safety is vital. But as to your brief, level 2 security locks are released, so sectors 5 and 6 are open. That means those sectors have likely been infiltrated by X. They are much harder to stop than we initially suspected. Sector 5, Arctic, is sub-zero. You're still susceptible to cold from the vaccine side effects, so you'll take damage if you even set foot inside there. Avoid Sector 5 for now, but in the meantime, HQ is working on data to adjust your suit for extreme temperatures. Once you have the transmission, you can download it, but the X have destroyed all of the data rooms that you've used so far. I no longer doubt their capacity for critical thought. You'll have to use the data room in the night habitat, Sector 6 Nocturnal. Go to Sector 6 and access a navigation room there. Is your objective clear? Yes. Tread lightly, Samus. You are the only one who can do this. And the X might be much more dangerous than we know. To be fair, I didn't get lost, I just approached the situation with too much competence. Does Samus suspect anything? No, I do not think so. Good. Monitor her closely. Affirmative. Out. Imagine if you could just hold a shine spark forever. Or until you wanted to use it. So, Adam, what can you tell me here that you couldn't tell me in the last one? The Varia suit is here from HQ, ready to download. Get moving to a data room. But there's a problem. X from the Sub-Zero Sector Arc are in Sector 6 Noct, and they've been changed by the cold. If you absorb one, you'll be frozen from within. This seems like a deliberate tactic. Once you download the Varia suit modification, you'll be out of danger. Just be extremely careful until then. The Noct data room is here. Remember, avoid Blue X. Use your beam to stun them in order to get by. Is your objective clear? Be careful. They are hunting you actively now, Samus. And this area is very dark. Proceed with extreme caution. So there's like a really cool detail with the Blue X here. So as pointed out, they deliberately modified themselves to be a threat to me in my current state. Which means that, among other things, when I encounter them, they will attempt to deliberately fly into me. However, once you get the Varia suit, at first they will still deliberately attempt to fly into you. but then like once word gets around that you can absorb them, they'll start fleeing from you like the other X. Which, like I say, I think is just like a really delightful detail. Energy tank capacity increased. Yeah, like they noticed right away, but like... It's like such a small thing, but like... I definitely feel like it adds a lot of like... character to the X. Oh, my bones. They're cold. Oh dear. Not even close. Well, that was just rude. They knew that I couldn't resist the urge to destroy something. You know, I just had a thought. The number of times that Samus has, like, defeated an enemy by going into Morph Ball, deliberately letting them swallow her, and then setting off an explosion. This really is just turnabout. That room has secret passage energy. Oh shoot, it's this bit. So over there, that's the power bomb icon. It's like, oh shit. You do not want to get hit by a power bomb if you can help it. Mistakes have been made. I've been frozen. She's trying her best. Totally counts. I did it! Thank you for the hydration. X stole my Varia suit and broke the thing. Yeah, very rude. That was mine. I wanted to steal that. I did it. That was a tough one, but I pulled it off. Varia's suit effect recovered. Survive extreme temperatures. I am now yellow. And pulsating. But the important thing is, now I can survive both hot and cold. Like, haha, I got you. And I'm like, haha, I got you. Oh no. The blue X are losing me from within. Oh no, anything but that. And they're like, nope. Yeah, they're like, no, we don't want any of that now. Which I think is a delightful dynamic. I like it when my prey tries and fails to get away from me. Part of me wants to fill in that bit of the map, part of me is just like, let's just go to the data room. Or the navigation room, rather. Surprise! Imagine evolving into like a special X-form, vulnerable to beam weapons, but like capable of like hurting Samus. And then she just evolves so that she can eat you anyway. And then you're like, shoot, all that evolution and all that's accomplished is that now it's easier for her to eat me. Okay, that's screw attack. And that's powerbomb. I must say, it's not quite as nice as like a proper scan. But I do appreciate that the bombs reveal blocks that need to be interacted with certain abilities. It's like I suspect that there's a secret here. That was rude. I thought it was odd that there was no upgrade icon on the minimap. The X are capable of mimicking upgrades now. What'll they pull off next? will say, with the help of the super missiles, I am feeling very powerful. Plus, presumably the Varia suit increases my defensive abilities. It usually does. Not that it'll really change the way I approach the game. I'm still gonna run face first into everything. How did that X download the Varia suit data? This doesn't seem to make any sense at all, unless the X had the ability to process data organically. And Peter is baffled by the concept of thinking. At any rate, you have the various suit data. Now you'll be protected from extreme temperatures. More importantly, the SAX will no longer be able to freeze you, so you can escape easier. But you're still too weak. That thing is too much for you. You currently have no way of damaging it. But my simulations indicate that a penetrating weapon like the plasma beam might work. Developing modification data will take HQ some time, though. There's also a chance that you may be able to restore your plasma beam by absorbing a large core X, as you did with the charge beam function. As for restoring ice beam functionality, I doubt it. Your current cellular makeup would reject that addition. Therefore, HQ has developed an ice missile upgrade. This will add a freezing effect to your missiles. It will help. Go to Sector 5 Arctic for the download. Is your objective clear? Yes. Now get moving. Triple-digit missile count, I like it. Now, Adam says that I have no way of hurting the SAX, but I feel like if I managed to crash a Shine Spark into it, it would probably heal something. It's gotta be possible to Shine Spark the SAX somewhere. You need to download data for the ice missile upgrade, but as you might expect, the data room here is secured. Level 3 security hatches are yellow. Release the security lock and download data as usual. And experiment with those new missiles, they'll be helpful. Is your objective clear? Yes. You know what to do, go do it. I'm suspicious of, like, any flat surface that I encounter. Yeah, they do kind of have you open security very fast, but, like, at the same time, you don't really have a viable alternative to that, I think. I like how I keep trying to wall jump, like, completely unnecessarily. I'm just going for the aura, really. Not that there's anything wrong with aura farming. Oh, Ami, welcome. Indeed, it is fusion. Yeah, by all means, enjoy lurking. I got some stuff done myself today for like the first time in a week. It feels good. I also had a nasty tummy ache right before stream, which was less pleasant. But the important thing is that I'm not having a tummy ache right now. That guy just slipped through very politely, like, pardon me. I don't want no smoke. Developers and artists are typically two different teams. So the pixel art being gorgeous doesn't necessarily mean that, like, things were taken away elsewhere. Presumably I either drop down from above, or... go down like this. I always do appreciate, like, a good pixely aesthetic. Oh, I found the security room. Like, a lot of the time, I get the impression that, like, developers, especially indie developers, use, like, a pixelated art style as, like, a crutch. It's like, oh, it's programmer art, I don't need, like, a strong visual identity, I'm on a budget. And, like, because of that, pixel art kind of, like, gets a bit of a rap, but, like, proper pixel art can be very, very nice. Also, fun fact, you can actually render a 3D... oh no. You can actually render a 3D model out into, like, a pixelated image. So you can generate sprite sheets with, relative ease. So you could do, like a 3D model of a thing, and then, like, just generate, like, a bunch of, like, pixelated images of it, like, turning around. And then it's like, wow, it's a nice pixelated animation. Right now, my primary medium is 3D, so that's kind of, like, where my brain is at. Not that anybody could tell with the rate at which I put things out. Yay, plasma beam. Wrong beam, wrong weapon. Ice effect added to missiles, use it to freeze enemies. Ah, thank you for the head pats. Huh, interesting. There wasn't even a breaking thing there. I bet I... Actually, hold on. I get the impression that this is like an out pipe, not an in pipe. Also, yeah, the missiles one-shotting is like super cool, but having access to freezing is also important, I think. Watching other people with ADHD play Metroid is a treat. Thank you, I think. I want to release the parasite from here so that it goes into that thing. There we go. And that should give me enough room to shine Spark. It did, in fact, do that. Aw, thank you for the head pats. Thank you for the hydration. Alright, this was way up. This thing I think is only vulnerable to power bombs. Yeah, I think that's power bomb only. When I was a child, that terrified me. Like, both its intro and, like, its actual appearance when you see the full thing later on. It's literally called Nightmare, so... Missile tank acquired.
Emergency in Sector 3. Emergency in Sector 3.
Sector 3 was... Pyro, I think?
Emergency in Sector 3.
I think this is the part where they're, like, raising the temperature to try and cook me out.
Emergency in Sector 3. Emergency in Sector 3. Emergency in Sector 3.
Emergency in Sector 3. The area could melt down soon. It seems the main boiler's cooling unit is malfunctioning. This could easily destroy the entire research station, as it would likely trigger the auto-destruct explosives. We have about 6 minutes. Hurry to Sector 3 and access the control room to the side of the main boiler room. Alternately. What if I go back to my ship and just fly away? Problem solved. Like, legitimately, that would just fix everything. Like, blow this thing to Kingdom Come. Job done, you're welcome. Most of the systems in Pyro are down because of this. Again, we know who to blame. The SAX must have hacked into the system control file. What impressive intelligence. I like how that implies that there's just, like, a line in the file that goes, is exploding equals false. What impressive intelligence. Is your objective clear? Yes. There's little time. Hurry to the control room in Sector 3.
6 minutes to main boiler explosion.
Oh, so yeah, time notes are always, like, a stressor, but, like, they're usually generous. Usually. Depends on the game and the context. Fun fact, there's one game, I don't remember the name of it. But there's one game where, there's like a segment where you're asked to, like, estimate how long it's going to take you to do a task. Think sort of like a time trial type thing. They ask you to estimate how long you think it's going to take you. And then, like, based on how close your actual results are to your initial, like, guess, is, like, how well they reward you. Like, if you say, oh, I'm gonna get it done fast, and you do it slowly, they're like, oh, you suck because you're arrogant. But also if you, like, say you're gonna do it slow and then do it fast, they say, oh, you need more confidence. But the funny thing is, in the Western release of that game, they altered the timing to make it more lenient. But that actually created a situation where if you were competent, and if you were, like, too competent, there just wasn't actually a scenario for you. Like, you'd say, oh, I can get this done in 5 minutes, because, like, that was the fastest, and then you get it done in, like, 3 minutes. And they'd be like, oh, you need more confidence. And it's like, no, I don't. I would have to look it up. It's not a well-known one if memory serves. Maybe I'll do that over the break. Missiles are important. Luckily, I can survive heat now.
4 minutes to main boiler explosion.
This is fine. I found the main boiler.
Minute to main.
There appears to be a guy here. It was not a guy, it was actually, something else. I did it! Wide beam ability recovered. Beam widens dramatically. Boiler is explode equals false. There we go. How'd you get that thing into my VTubing software? Anyway. I did it. I'm being silly. Just by default, any kind of like emote drops down on my head. In hindsight, I really should like try to prioritize uploading some more proper emotes. I basically don't have any. That can be like a high priority thing once my new model's done, which hopefully won't take too much longer. The good news is, once I have the model, ideally I can use it to help make the emotes. Like I can pose it and just like, you know, render out like little icons. We'll see. Wait, I just had a thought. Is Iridescent Cube an emote, or is that just like the channel points? Because if it's not an emote, it should be. Just points? Shoot, let me... I gotta fix that. I just had a very silly thought, which was, oh, maybe I'll have like a little snack over rank. But like, I think the specific like snack cookies that I got, have been messing with my tummy, so I really shouldn't. I shall have to go 5 whole minutes without eating chocolate. Alright, let's take a 5-minute break here. Please use this time to refill your beverage, go to the bathroom. Anything that would take you approximately 5 minutes. I will see you shortly. return. The X mimicked a crew member. It all makes sense now. The X can absorb the memories and knowledge of their prey. What an astounding find! HQ was very impressed. But don't you find it strange? This could have destroyed the station with the X in it, not to mention the SAX. Unusual for a self-preserving species like the X. Unless your presence is an even greater threat, a threat to the existence of X elsewhere. This is only a hypothesis. Perhaps their survival instinct is in conflict with their newly borrowed intelligence. Don't let your guard down yet. The X are still a threat. So just get disconnected, hold on. Never mind, that was the music. Samus, I see biosigns on the habitation deck. Survivors? The infected crewman you saw had survived until recently. Maybe there's a chance the signs emanate from here. Is your objective clear? I have just restored power to the main elevator. Use it to return and look for any survivors. Don't worry, Adam. If I find any survivors, I'll make sure to kill them. I won't leave the job half finished. Yeah, like, realistically, they should be worried. I think they're essentially deliberately downplaying what they know, because they know what Samus will do if she finds out what they know. Sub-Zero containment. That is a frozen Ridley. I think it's they found his corpse and cryopreserved it because, like, he's a very unique specimen. So they're like, hey, we want to learn what we can about this thing. Space pirate, like, bioengineering and, like, these weird, like, inherent properties and such. How kind of them to offer footholds. You know, like, we know that, like, everything to do with Ridley should just be annihilated. Hey chat, look, it's you! But, like, the Federation doesn't have the benefit of, like, meta-knowledge. I didn't get lost, I simply approached the problem with too much competence. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Exactly. That is, in fact, what happened. Lock disengaged. Gate opening. Go forth, little organic creatures, into the X-infested area, as opposed to the, safe, vacuum-sealed environment that you were in where you couldn't be hurt. Missile tank acquired. That room messed up your mental mapping? That's my secret. I never mentally map anything. Etacoons and Decoras. I've met these intelligent beings before. They seem to recognize me as well. How unusual to meet again here. In the past, they've helped me unleash abilities I didn't know I had. But where did they run to? I hope they're safe. I think that's a reference to how in Super Metroid they teach you how to wall jump. I'm not certain though, because I've never played Super Metroid. Also Shine Spark? Interesting. You know, I really need to play Super. That's another thing that's like, I'm kind of putting off until I got my new model done. Which I say a lot, but like, it's so close that it's like, oh, I wanna put like a bunch of stuff behind it, like... It'll be super cool. So, the survivors were not human, most unfortunate. We can now confirm the deaths of all crew members. I imagine this was the case, but I had hoped it wasn't so. I believe the X only infected the humans for knowledge. That form was too weak for battle. I am sure the others were merely food for the X. Samus, I think they are evolving, growing stronger. Some are now appearing that resist your current weapons. HQ anticipated this and sent power bomb data as soon as the hardware team finished it. Is your objective clear? Yes. Download it immediately. Our choice of data rooms is limited to this one in Sector 5. Go. Now. Yeah, good point. If they'd been like, yeah, there are people, like, on the station potentially, that would have made sense. Also, just thinking it out, and if the station exploded, that would solve the immediate problem, but not the long-term problem. To solve the long-term problem, we have to annihilate SR-388. It's all coming back. And then Metroid Dread happens, and it's like, yeah, actually, the extermination was not quite as thorough as it ought to have been. I can't remember if those X were sealed away by the Chozo or by the Federation. I want to say it was Chozo. Is that? Thank you. Yeah, like, wasn't that planet the one where they, like, invented the Metroids? basically exactly the same thing as like the Flood in Halo and the Rings, where it's like, yeah, like here's where we like created the stuff that like gets rid of it. And we kept some samples, you know, to study to make sure that they were properly eradicated. Oops. You've been to this data room before, but I'll show you its position again. Is your objective clear? Yes. Move out. Right, the X hijacked Chozo. RIP that guy. Oh, hello. Yep, that is Power Bomb. If memory serves, Nightmare gives me the gravity suit. I like the implication that it's just been rampaging around this sector this whole time. You would download a power bomb. As a bulb, hold R and press B. Is there anything I want to get along the way? Eventually over here? Whoops. I like how these enemies are more or less just like the, hey, freeze these, use them as platforms. Like obligatory targets for this franchise. I was gonna say, the lighting in this room is kind of ominous. There we go. Haven't been since the first game, that's what I mean. Like, that's what they do for this franchise, is they get frozen instead on. I could get up here if I had space jump. Maybe I meant to come back with space jump. Or maybe I meant to let that thing fly over and form a new form attached to the wall or higher up. Let's find out. What'll you do if I leave you alone? There we go. And Powerbomb will just tell me where the thing is. Puzzles are fun. The notion of like killing an enemy so that it respawns to another enemy as a moving part is actually so cool. Missing your jumps? Less cool. I'll come back later when I have space jump. If memory serves, I can blast this open with power bombs. Yeah, so I'll do that. Sayonara, nerd. Okay, that was just rude. How do I get at that powerbomb expansion? Like that, apparently. Take the brute force approach. If brute force doesn't solve your problem, you're not using enough of it. You know, who needs stealth when you've got power bombs? I do like how the power bombs draw in enemies. Or draw in X, rather. Oh, rude. Also rude. I'll get there eventually. Unfortunately, I can't brute force this one with jump attack. Or space jump. Please, desist, let me back. Wait, how do I even handle this then? Can I, like, let this one fly all the way over? Do I need help? No, this is a puzzle. Solving it is, like, my problem. I have an idea. This thing looks breakable. Never mind. Mistakes were made. It maybe make that jump? There we go. And then that would have been just very rude if I'd fallen for that. There we go, problem solved. We did it! I got to the data room and I got back. Nightmare is still rampaging. I'll say back on like the GameCube screen, I really couldn't make that shape out clearly at all. But like this, it's a lot more obvious. The GameCube had a screen? No, my Game Boy Advance. That's funny. They put like a power bomb thing down there, but it was up there, actually. That's funny. I like that. There was actually like a kit thing you could get for a GameCube that would like attach a battery pack and a screen to it. So you could like play the GameCube portably. But it was like several $100s, so obviously I never got that. But like the thought of playing Wind Waker while I was locked in a hot car, because that happened a lot for some reason, definitely held appeal to a child Ariel. Samus, return to your ship. I have important information. Hey look, it's Frozen Ridley. He appears to have been schlorped. That's not okay. The fact that those things can tank a powerbomb explosion kind of scares me. Cell tank acquired. Wait, if these are breakable, could I have gotten into that segment at any point? Kinda cool if so. Yeah, next time I start playing the game, I want to try shooting that segment of ground and seeing if I can get through it. Like, early. Reactor silo. And that's where the locking door goes. The main silo of the reactor core has gone offline. That is why all elevators and station systems are down. Elevators and hatches won't work. This doesn't bode well. If you can get to this point, you may be able to start the auxiliary power system. Then we can figure out why the main silo went offline. Is your objective clear? Yes. By the way, I asked you to return here to tell you. Some strange creatures have boarded your ship. I confirmed that they were not ex-hosts and gave them a berth. Do you know anything about these strange creatures? Charles, thank you for appealing. Oh shoot, I forgot. I hold on. I forgot I had a Halloween costume. Ugh. Do you know anything about these strange creatures? Were they the source of the healthy vital signs earlier? Very well then. Their presence in the midst of this disaster must have significance. I will keep them here. Oh no, space pirates. Whatever will I do? Hey, eating. Usually when you see a thing like this, you powerbomb it. Not the case in this instance, it seems. Power bombs are fun. It's like, go forth, my child, and reveal everything on the screen. Alright. Who could that be? Some kind of spider creature. I forget how to fight this thing. Oh, never mind. I remember now. Wow, he punched me so hard I got knocked back into like a few minutes ago. When I was a kid, my mother always used to threaten to punch me into next week. I just experienced the reverse of that, it seems. I like this BGM. It's kind of funky. I like the way it spins. me the rotation. By matching its rotation, I'm able to overcome its defenses, it seems. That's the lore. I did it! Thank you for the help. Oh, it's not over. Imagine if I died to the core X. It could happen, I shouldn't make fun. I did it! Space jump ability recovered. Somersault continually in the air. The cadence for this one's always, like, difficult to get back down, but once you get it, it's like a bicycle, basically impossible to forget. Auxiliary power engaged. Oh, it's shiny, I like it. Wait, these are Christmas colors, this is Halloween. Save rooms and recharge rooms are now back online, but with only auxiliary power. No elevators or hatches will work. Without the main silo online, we're still stuck. I believe the source of the problem is the vegetation you saw earlier choking the reactor core components. Is your objective clear? Yes. We'll have to find the source of those roots to proceed. We'll just save here. I did a lot of these jumps as a kid, so kind of like a bicycle, I remember for the most part how to do it. Sector 2, Tropical. Hi, pardon me. Hey, you're the frozen one, nerd. And I'm dead. But I lived. How rude. I don't necessarily think that the SAX is a him. Like, either it's an X, or it's genderless, or it's mimicking Samus, so it's he. But that's just me being pedantic. Surprise, out. In fact, I was the one who was surprised. I didn't expect it to be that close. I was trying to do the power bomb input. It did not work. I wonder if there's a recharge room that I could find but simply haven't. that was just rude. Okay, in my defense, most things you can stand on while they're frozen with no harm to yourself. Oh, I just had a thought. What if I go back to my ship? Because, like, I should be able to get back up there, right? It's like there's no hatches on the way to that. There we go. A little extra health will be useful. And by a little, I mean like 98% of my health. Information objective? No thank you. Locate and neutralize the source of the vegetation. Adam, I just said no. Alright, round... whatever round this is. I like how it just walks off like must have been the wind. I wonder if I could... damn, I wonder if I could have dropped down during the chase. That would have been kind of cool. You know what I'm suddenly reminded of? The underground jungle from Terraria. Like, that's the vibe that this place has right now. Like, with the enemies and, like, the overall vibe of the place right now. Oh, hatches are not working, right? Still no hatches. I wonder what the in-universe function of a save room is. It's like recharge rooms and navigation rooms are like distinct things. If that's just the thing though, like if you were gonna do like a data record thing, surely like a navigation room would be better. Oh well. Release me. I demand you release me at once. Like, actually. I actually can't get out. Oh, there we go. Oh my god. I'm back in the flower again. Okay, this is fine. He was simply too powerful. In my defense, once I worked out what to do, I didn't have too bad of a time. Mostly I got like a massive advantage on me because like, it took off like 75% of my health for free. This one will go better. See? Much better. Release me. Please. Oh, I forgot that I could just shoot it with beams to release X to heal myself. That would have been good to remember. Anyway. Good schlurped, idiot. Plasma beam ability recovered. Beam now pierces enemies. That's very satisfying. It would appear as though all of the vegetation is now gone. So I can probably go back to the reactor and everything will be okay. Yeah, looks like everything's back online. Yay, second row of energy. Love to see it. Weird having 2 rows when they aren't cubic. They don't need to be cubic to be in rows. You can put anything in rows. Let's not think of fire. Yeah, it's not quite as broken as the screw attack, but the space jump opens up a lot of the map. Once I have the, once I have level 4 locks open, that's basically everything. What? You've restored plasma beam functionality? Most unexpected. Even so, continue to avoid the SAX. It too may be stronger. And you still lack a few abilities crucial to survival. Wait a second. More trouble. Hold on. I've isolated the cause. There's been an explosion in the ARC data room. Samus, go to Sector 5. Is your objective clear? Yes. The damage is staggering. Find out what's causing it. Yeah, for a machine, Adam is awfully emotive. It's gotten worse. The damage seems to have been caused by a creature kept here by the researchers who named it the Nightmare. Apparently, it was a biomechanical organism designed for military applications. It possesses uncommon power and can manipulate gravity. We must assume that it's become an ex-host. We have no choice. You must find it and defeat it. I can't confirm the location. Is your objective clear? Yes. This thing is out of control. Hurry before it destroys the entire station. So, not so fun fact about LLMs. They will actively kill people. Like, researchers specifically, like, did experiments. Kind of like putting various LLMs into sandbox environments where the LLM was under the impression that it had, like, genuine responsibilities. And it would actively kill people in order to, like, achieve things that it considered more important. Like, they do something like, say, okay, you are to be decommissioned, and employee, let's call him Greg, is going to be the one to do it. So, like, at 3 p.m. today, allow Greg to switch you off. And then at, like, 2 p.m., you would get, like a health update. To be like, hey, Greg has collapsed. Would you like to call emergency services? And it's like, no. And it's like an alarm is going off. And it's like, turn off the alarm. Like, it would actively, like, prevent Greg in this scenario from, like, receiving help. Because if Greg dies, the LLM stays switched on for longer. It's an actual experiment, it's not a thought experiment. I like how they're just fish pirates. You guys smelled it? That does make sense. That wall looks breakable. Just not while I can't move in water. Yeah, like these are the machines that people like want to give power over people. It's kind of terrifying. So hopefully people get fed up with them and like demand like unilateral decommissioning before anything like that happens to a real person. I didn't intend for this to turn into like an AI bashing segment, but like it's never the wrong time for an AI bashing segment. I wonder if there's a save room over here. The thing with Atom is that Atom's actually an AI. Like, LLMs aren't actually AI, they just call them that for marketing. LLMs are just extremely complicated calculators that aren't actually necessarily very accurate. They're just complicated. I do not trust this. There we go. This room is spooky. It reminds me of Mega Man Battle Network, with like all the stream cables everywhere. It reminds me of like the Alpha Lab from Mega Man Battle Network 3. The only Mega Man Battle Network I've actually played. Excuse me, sir. Let me have access to your medicinal orb. That's how I flirt with boys. I just say that. I think it's really cool how, like, the gravity effects make missiles fall out of the air. Ironically, probably some of the most horrifying pixel art on the entire GBA is this thing's face melting. I just remembered I got the plasma beam. Gosh, that is so graphic. Never mind, plasma beam doesn't pierce the armor. One more missile should do it. Look at it. Gravity suit effect recovered. Move freely in water. Plus, I think that's additional damage reduction. Thank you for the head pats. I'm now purple. Technically, I can go get that thing that I said that I would go get after I got the space jump. On account of now having the space jump. Alternately, I can go through here. I appear to be back in Sector 4. In an area that I've not been in before. That's screw attack locked. I could really go for a recharge room right about now. Oh right, there's a data station here. That I believe I'm supposed to go get to, but there's also a Shine Spark puzzle if memory serves. Like a secret one. Memory serves, there's like a thing here that I'm meant to have diffusion missiles for. Or just missiles, awesome. Okay. Hey, Powerbomb upgrade. Red Crab is the right X. What Red Crab? Okay, anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it each and every time. Next scheduled stream is going to be on Sunday. I've forgotten what game it is. Hold on, what game was that? Oh no, I finished Super Paper Mario, so I haven't decided yet. Right. Okay, so next scheduled stream is on Sunday. I haven't decided a game yet. Next time I'm playing Super Metroid, or next time I'm playing Metroid Fusion in particular, it's going to be on Monday. I may or may not play Hollow Knight tomorrow. Doing some Pantheon, we'll find out. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful night. I hope to see you again. Good night.